A giant built a bridge to fight another giant, but when he saw his enemy, he dressed as a baby. You've heard stories about warriors who won through strength, knights in armor, soldiers with swords. But what if the greatest victory in Celtic legend was won by a man in a bonnet and a diaper? This isn't your typical hero's tale. The story of Finn McCool and Benandonner is about giants who could reshape coastlines with their bare hands. But it's really about something far more dangerous than size. The moment when brute force meets brilliant strategy, when muscle confronts mind. Here's what makes this legendary. The evidence is still there. Today, the challenge northern coast of Ireland. County Antrim, 40,000 hexagonal basalt columns rise from the sea like organ pipes. Rocks so perfectly geometric they look artificial. Scientists call it volcanic activity. Locals know better. This is the Giant's Causeway, and they know exactly who built it. Finn McCool, Ireland's greatest warrior, leader of the Fianna, strong enough to lift house-size boulders, fast enough to catch deer barehanded, wise enough to gain prophetic powers from the salmon of knowledge. But Finn had a problem. Across the North Channel, 13 miles away, lived another giant, Benandonner, the Red Man. He'd been sending insults across the sea, called Finn weak, a coward, an Irish fraud, too afraid to face a real warrior. Therefore, Finn made a decision that would change everything. He would build a bridge. The bridge. Picture a giant hurling massive stones into the ocean. Each pillar perfectly shaped, each column driven deep into the seabed. The sound echoed like thunder. Every stone brought him closer to Scotland, closer to the fight he craved. The causeway stretched from Ireland toward Scotland, a pathway of stone rising from waves. Finn stood at the Irish end, muscles aching. Tomorrow, he would cross. Tomorrow, he would teach the Red Man some manners. But when tomorrow came, everything changed. Halfway across his causeway, Finn looked up. He saw Benandonner for the first time, not as a distant threat, as a reality. Walking toward him from Scotland, Benandonner was massive, unbelievably massive, twice Finn's height, shoulders broader than Finn's entire body, fists the size of cattle. Each footstep shook the causeway. When he shouted, birds fell from the sky. Finn stopped walking. For the first time in his legendary life, fear gripped his heart. He turned and ran. The clever wife. Finn burst through his door, chest heaved wide. His wife, Unig, had never seen him terrified before. Benandonner, Finn gasped. He's enormous. I can't fight him. He'll destroy me. Here's where the story gets interesting. Unig wasn't just any wife. She was wickedly clever. Where Finn saw certain death, Unig saw opportunity. How far away is he? Minutes. Then we don't have much time. Unig moved like a general preparing for battle. But her weapons weren't swords. They were psychology, theater, and brilliant improvisation. She grabbed their largest cradle, wrapped Finn in swaddling clothes, tied a massive bonnet around his head. Get in the cradle. Act like an infant. Whatever happens, don't speak. Just cry and suck your thumb. Trust me, she said. The knock came like thunder. Unig opened the door. Benandonner had to duck to see inside. Where is Finn McCool? Oh, he's gone hunting, chasing warriors who insulted him. Won't be back for days. She paused. Though it's lucky you're here. Would you help me turn the house around? I want the window facing the other direction. Finn does it all the time. Turn the house? Just rotate that stone cottage outside. Benandonner stared, walked over and gripped it, heaved with all his strength. After tremendous effort, he managed to shift it slightly. He returned, breathing hard. If Finn did this all the time, how strong was he? Come inside and rest. You must be hungry. She brought out griddle cakes. Benandonner bit into one and cried out. His tooth cracked. These weren't bread, they were rocks with thin flour coating. Unig had hidden iron griddles inside each. I'm so sorry. I forget not everyone is used to our food. Finn and the baby eat these every day. Here, let the baby show you. She gave baby Finn one special cake, the only one without iron, and Finn gummed it happily. Benandonner watched in horror. The baby ate these stone breaker cakes like nothing. How old is the baby? Just a few months. Small for his age, actually. Finn worries he might not grow up strong. The thumb. Benandonner approached the cradle. This baby was enormous. filled the cradle end to end, had fists like ham hocks, and ate iron-laced bread without blinking. If this was the baby, what exactly was the father? He's teething, loves to chew on things. Why don't you let him play with your hand? Benandonner, in a trance of disbelief, extended his hand. Finn grabbed the giant's thumb and bit down hard. Benandonner roared and yanked his hand back, looked at his thumb, looked at the baby, looked at the cottage he'd barely moved. The math was terrifying. If the baby was this strong, what kind of monster was Finn McCool? The baby was small for his age, and Finn wasn't even home yet. He was out hunting warriors for fun. Therefore, Benandonner made the only logical decision. He ran. The retreat. Benandonner sprinted for the causeway. His heart hammered. Behind him, he imagined the approach of the real Finn McCool, the monster father who ate iron bread and moved stone houses. He reached the causeway and started running. But running wasn't enough. As long as it existed, Finn could follow him to Scotland, could arrive in the night and exact revenge. So Benandonner started destroying it. He ripped up columns behind him as he ran, tore basalt pillars from their foundations. The bridge that took Finn days to build was demolished in minutes by Benandonner's panic. He reached Scotland and kept destroying. Only when miles of water separated him from Finn's home did he stop. He never bothered Ireland again. The truth. Back in Ireland, Unig helped Finn from the cradle. They laughed together, the legendary warrior and his brilliant wife. A giant defeated by a bonnet and a cradle. This is what makes the story timeless. Finn had strength, speed, courage, combat skill. None would have saved him. He was outmatched physically. However, Unig understood that power isn't just muscles. It's perception. Benandonner didn't lose a fight. He lost a psychological war. He didn't know he was fighting. Every detail fed his fear. The cottage, the iron cakes, the enormous baby. Each element said, "You are not the biggest thing here." Therefore, Benandonner defeated himself. His imagination conjured a version of Finn more terrifying than reality. That's Unig's genius. She didn't make Finn stronger. She made Benandonner believe Finn was stronger. The Causeway. Today, you can visit the Giant's Causeway right now. County Antrim, Northern Ireland. A UNESCO World Heritage Site. 40,000 interlocking basalt columns formed by ancient volcanic eruption. But stand there on the stones. Look across towards Scotland. Tell me the scientific explanation feels complete. On the Scottish side, on Staffa Island, there's another formation. Fingal's Cave. Same hexagonal basalt columns. Same impossible geometry. Same evidence of a bridge connecting two shores. The stones are real. Walk on the same columns where Benandonner fled. And Finn won his greatest victory by losing his dignity. Visit early morning or late evening. Tour buses cluster midday. But in quiet hours, when it's just you and the stones and waves, you can almost hear it. The echo of massive footsteps. The crash of pillars being ripped up. The laughter of a woman who understood that brain defeats fist. The lessons here's what nobody tells you about legendary battles. The most important ones were never fought. Finn and Benandonner never exchanged blows. No epic combat. Just a performance, an audience of one, and a retreat. This is the victory of the trickster. You find it across every culture. Odysseus hiding in a wooden horse. These aren't stories about being strongest. They're about being smartest. Unig understood asymmetric warfare before the term existed. She couldn't make Finn bigger, but she could control the battlefield. She turned her home into a stage and her husband into a prop. Yet here's what makes this truly special. This celebrates partnership. Finn was the famous warrior, but in his moment of greatest need, his wife was the hero. She had no supernatural strength, just intelligence, creativity, and absolute confidence. The story celebrates her. Unig isn't a side character. She's the actual victor. And Finn was smart enough to trust her, smart enough to swallow his pride, smart enough to climb into that cradle. That's partnership. That's what survives when strength fails. Planning your visit. The site is 3 miles north of Bushmills in County Antrim. There's a visitor center with parking, about £13 per adult. From the center, it's a 15-minute walk down to the stones. Give yourself at least an hour to explore. Wear good shoes. The basalt columns can be slippery. Bring a waterproof jacket. This is Ireland. Weather happens. But that wind is part of the experience. The same wind that carried Benandonner's insults. Visit Bushmills Distillery while you're in the area. Oldest licensed distillery in the world. Established 1608. After imagining giants, a warming whiskey seems appropriate. The final truth: was there really a giant who built a bridge to Scotland? Did his wife really dress him as a baby? Did Benandonner really flee from an infant? Here's my answer. Does it matter? The stones are real. The causeway exists. You can touch the same columns the legend describes. Whether placed by giants or formed by lava, they connect Ireland and Scotland. They bridge two cultures, two traditions, two versions of the same story. And the lesson? That's real too. Intelligence defeats strength. Wit triumphs over might. Sometimes the scariest thing isn't the roar of a warrior, but the quiet confidence of someone who knows something you don't. Finn McCool appears in dozens of Irish legends. He leads the Fianna. He gains wisdom from the salmon of knowledge. He fights monsters and wins battles. But this story, where he dresses as a baby and hides in a cradle, might be his greatest, not because of what it says about his strength, but about his humility, his willingness to look ridiculous to survive, his trust in his wife's plan. That's heroism too. The courage to admit you can't win alone. The wisdom to know when to fight and when to flee. The intelligence to recognize that your partner sees solutions you're blind to. Therefore, when you visit the Giant's Causeway, you're not just visiting a geological formation. You're visiting a monument to cleverness, a memorial to partnership, a reminder carved in hexagonal stone that the biggest person in the room isn't always the most dangerous. Stand on those columns. Look across at Scotland. Feel the wind that once carried war cries. And remember, somewhere on these stones, a giant dressed as a baby and changed the course of a legend. Somewhere here, a woman looked at an impossible problem and found an absurd solution. Somewhere here, wit defeated strength, and the story survived 1,000 years to prove it. Because in a world that celebrates size and strength and volume, it's good to remember that the sharpest weapon is the one between your ears. And the strongest partnership is the one where both people are clever enough to know it. The Giant's Causeway isn't just a place. It's a promise that impossible things can be explained, that terrifying enemies can be defeated, that when you're outmatched in every physical way, you might still have the one advantage that matters most. You might have a better idea,